I'm the manager of infrastructure at Shutterstock. I started at Shutterstock in 2013. I started in the web ops team. And while on the web ops team, I built out an OpenStack cluster, learned some Juniper. Over the couple of years at Shutterstock, I went on to run our traffic team, which kind of handles network operations and network management, and also our assets team, which is kind of more or less your data center operations team. I started my life as a sysadmin actually back when I was in junior high. I got my first computer when I was like 4. So in junior high, I thought it would be a great idea to make some money. So I was like, cool, I'm 12, let me make some money. How do I do that? I bought a dedicated server, ran Red Hat, and I got rooted a week later. It was great. It really taught me a lot, but let me tell you a little bit about Shutterstock. Shutterstock has been around since 2003. We're a 12-year-old company. We have a founder, CEO, John Oringer. We started right here in New York City. We have offices all over the world. We're over 600 employees. We sell about 4 images per second. And our focus is on volume and really to give folks one of the best search experiences when it comes to finding, whether it's vectors, photography, audio, and things like that. We accept 9 currencies and we have customers in over 150 countries. 70% of our traffic comes outside of the United States. We're a two-sided marketplace. We have 1.3 million customers from 150 countries. We have 80,000 contributors in 100 countries. We have over 60 million images, and we add 50,000 images a day to our collection. In short, we have a lot of people that really rely on us, and we want to make sure that we are delivering the best experience to our customers. The team that kind of helps make sure that that experience is delivered is the infrastructure team at Shutterstock. The infrastructure team is responsible for everything that people build at Shutterstock. So in short, everything that's built, everything that's sold is sitting on the infrastructure that we build, maintain, and scale. Today, we're across 3 data centers that our team runs. We have over 4,000 virtualized instances. They're mostly running CentOS. We have over 500 network devices. We use Brocade for load balancers. We're actually moving over to equal cost multipathing and Anycast for a lot of those services. And the rest of the network is all Juniper based. So a little bit more about infrastructure at Shutterstock. The infrastructure group are the first responders. Whenever there's an issue, we have what's called a first on call and a point of contact. So the first on call point of contact is a rotation type thing. So instead of kind of always being on call, that sucks. What we try to do is, since we have about 20 people on the team, you get to basically be on call for 1 week every 19. So it works out really well. And within infrastructure, we're actually made up of separate groups or backlogs. So the first one is the SRE team. The SRE team is more or less your normal SRE team. They help people architect and design new services to deploy. They also handle a lot of our internal education and training to the rest of the engineers. We also have a tools team. The tools team builds out our virtualization platform. Our storage team is pretty important. We store lots and lots of pictures and movies and all that. So the storage team is really responsible for making sure that the storage architecture is always available, resilient, fast, and scales. Going along with the storage team, the assets team, as I mentioned before, they handle a lot of our data center operations. Those guys maintain about 30 to 40 miles of cable within our data centers. They do things like hardware procurement. They implement, maintain our data center standards. And lastly, we have our traffic team. They are more or less your traditional network team. They handle routing, they handle DNS, they monitor everything, and they actually work with ThousandEyes a lot. So based on that, given that the infrastructure group is kind of responsible for a lot of these things, and maybe wherever you guys are at, that happens to you guys too, this is a question that might happen. Where do we build a data center? It's a pretty good question. So at Shutterstock, our assets, as you guys know, they're downloaded all over the world. 70% of our traffic is international, and every second counts. So as you can see, I'll get out of the way, 40% of people abandon a website that takes more than 3 seconds to load. So you want to make sure that your site's fast, it loads. So to put that into some perspective, if you have an e-commerce site that's making $100,000 a day, 1 second page delay could probably cost you $2.5 million in lost sales. Makes executives sad pandas. So what I did, there's many different ways you can figure out what is important to you. And you guys should decide what region, city, whatever, is important for your business. One way you could do that, you can look at Google Analytics, take a look and see where a majority of your traffic is coming from, and you can start deploying ThousandEyes agents and tests in those regions. What I did for here, I picked 10 cities that I'd like to visit. So once you've picked them, create some tests. The way I like to do it, in this example I use Google, but I like checking pages every 15 minutes, check the HTTP server every 5. We have 10 agents deployed, and I always like to perform bandwidth measurements. You can only do those on the enterprise agents, but they're really helpful, at least for us, because we got to worry about throughput. And then you just kind of wait. You got to let the data collect. And then ultimately, you want to review and analyze that data. You want to take a look, and you want to see what are your page load times for all those tests. And ThousandEyes makes that pretty simple. You can build these really awesome reports. I like looking at response times, and I really like looking at this breakup, because you can actually see how much time your client has spent looking up DNS, trying to connect to the server, trying to negotiate SSL, and ultimately waiting for the application to respond back. Sometimes performance issue is actually not the network. Surprise. It could be a bad application. And something like this might be able to help you pinpoint that. So once you're reviewing your reports, you can kind of start with whatever your worst performer is. And then you drill down to your data. So what we like to do is we like to look at waterfalls. They'll show you every single asset that a page is trying to pull down. And for each asset, you'll get to see how much time the client has spent trying to fetch each asset and kind of what state it was in. So this is really helpful to figure out where exactly a problem might exist. A lot of times you'll have a page that's pulling assets from a source that's not you, and you don't always have control over that. This is also a really great way to make sure that your CDN provider is working out for you. But ultimately, in a lot of cases, being closer to the end user will drive a lot of these numbers down. So that's kind of how theoretically you could use some of this data to try to figure out where you could build your next data center. But other than that, all these tests and agents can be used for other stuff. You can use them for ad hoc troubleshooting. We use them to monitor our site performance. It's really helpful to figure out if there are issues, if they're global, are they regional, and are they locked down to a specific user or something like that. Bananas are yummy, so are grapes. And now you know where to deploy your next site. Thank you guys. Thank you.